We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football, even all the stuff we don't understand. What did I just watch? What did I just listen to? What was that? The more I think I know, the less I truly do know. Holy smokes. What is going on? Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner. We're the studio, the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. We have two big explosive stories going on right now. You know how it works. If you love college football, subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen. I know we've been waiting months for the Pac-12 Media Deal. We're going to talk about it. It finally was presented. We are going to talk about it because I've got information. The Arizona State Money Perch has spoken, and he's been on it from the beginning since January 31st. They got their deal. You remember 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, Arizona State Money Perch told us, we reported to you, that once the media deal was going to be presented, it was going to be difficult to decipher. And that's what they got going on right now. The deal came in basically what most people thought, heavy streaming, Apple driven, and it's not going to work. We're going to get into that in a moment. It's not going to work to the point where it's going to keep the Arizona schools in the Pac-12. We will get to that. We will get to that. Arizona board, I think they're meeting right now. I don't know how much is going to break from that. We are going to get to it. I promise you. I promise you. Peter Collins. Now, yes, Jonathan Weaver. Yes. Thank you for the super chat. Did Florida State say they're not worried about the GOR? I try to take notes. The problem was, okay, so Peter Collins, okay, let's step back. We started Act 1 at the Holy Smokes Theater a few days ago. Florida State Mike Alford is at the side of the stage, not in the middle of the stage yet. Mike Alford with the Seminole, with Florida State. And up in the balcony, there was a guy dressed all in black. Black shoes, black pants, black shirt, black suit jacket, and a mask on. Golden Garnett, the mask. There's somebody in the mask. And they were both looking up at the balcony. Mike Alford and the Seminole, they're waiting for their cue to step in the middle of the stage. Well, we're going to say it right now because we've known about this for a while. The guy up in the balcony, he rips off his mask, and that is Peter Collins, the chair of the Board of Trustees. It was Peter Collins all the time. So, now, are we ready to put Mike Alford and the Seminole on the center of the stage? Florida State and Mike Alford at the center of the stage? Not quite yet, but man, we are probably one day away. For those who did not hear the interview of Peter Collins at War Chant, and I think it's still going on right now, that is a must watch. Now, I did not have time to put the link in the description. If you follow us at Flug Empire, I'm going to load it up there tonight. I don't have time. I got to talk to you guys. We got to get to your phone calls. I know there are people listening to that. I know we're going to get calls from Seminoles. And Seminoles, the Knowles out there, I understand. I get it. Even an idiot like me, even the fat guy from Minnesota, I get it. I understand. I understand why you believe this is going down. And anybody who watches that interview, I don't know if Peter Collins was trying to hide what Florida State is thinking and looks like they're going to do. If he was trying to hide it, he did a very poor job. And I don't think he was trying to hide it. He kept saying, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to jeopardize what we're going to do. My goodness, I could not believe what I was listening to. So Seminole fans, Il Buck says it's wrapping up. Great interview. Oh, yeah. Seminole fans, please call. JD, the rest, I get it now. Attorney Dave, I don't know. Look, this is what Peter Collins is the chair of the board of the trustees at Florida State University, being interviewed by warchant.com tonight. And he basically, he was asked the question about the grant of rights. And I'm going to paraphrase this. Okay, he said, we understand the document. We understand the parties to the document. We believe we have a good handle on the grant of rights. We understand the risks and the opportunities. And then the money shot, he says, but the grant of rights is not the document that would stop us from basically moving to another conference. I don't know what document they're talking about, But they're scoffing at the grant of rights. Peter Collins did in this interview. He says, we are willing to take the difficult decision. We're going to be judged in the future by the decision we make. Just like we are judged by the decision we made years ago, which was bad. Florida State's making a move, ladies and gentlemen, based on this interview. And then he was asked the question. Peter Collins was asked the question. It was a brilliant question. It came from somebody in the chat. I don't know how they did that. I don't know if it was somebody in the chat or if it was I don't know. But it wasn't from the host. The question was to Peter Collins, again, I'm paraphrasing, the negatives and positives of being in a more regional conference to being in a conference that's more broad-based. In other words, what's the importance of geography? It was a brilliant question. And Peter Collins kind of went back and forth, region, it would be nice to go close, play, SEC. And then he said, but you know what? That's kind of traditional and maybe better if it's more broad-based, but it's going to come down to finances more than regionality. It was the main war chant guy. Okay, Immaculate. It was a beautiful question. And Immaculate, I want you to call. And here's the deal. Maybe I'm completely off my cracker. Maybe the cheese has slipped off my cracker. I watched it. To me, they're going for it. They're doing it. I don't know if they're going straight to the Big Ten or if this is a leverage, a bluff ploy saying to everybody, we are going to the Big Ten unless ESPN, you make a deal and we can get to the SEC. If you can help us with this, with the ACC, make it happen behind the scenes. They're going for it. So now, they're going for it. If you, hey, of course nothing is confirmed. But I think there's going to be a big difference on how people who actually watch the interview to people who haven't watched the interview yet. Peter Collins is not a great politician. He was making it pretty well known. He was saying that they're willing to make the tough decision. And it's about finances. They're getting crushed at Florida State. They can't compete. They're not going to be able to compete in the future. That's basically what he's saying. Yeah. It sounded like they were definitely going somewhere. They're making the move. So that smoke that was real, that we were told was real, and based on a couple things we can't talk about, a few things we can around the personalities that are there. Well, there's that one personality, Peter Collins. He said they've been working on this since last July when the news broke that UCLA and USC were going to the Big Ten. He's very proud of everybody who has worked on this. They put so much money and time and resources. They're not, it almost is like they're doing all of this work. He kept saying that they're not going to do all this work and then stop at the water's edge. They're going in the water. No matter how strong the river, the waves and the stream is, they're jumping in the water. They're doing it. I can't think of any other. Why would he have the interview he just did? Why would he answer the questions in the way he just did if they weren't going to do it? Again, watch the interview with War Chant. Now, you can disagree with me. Call me up. Put it in the comment section. Tell me I'm reading way too much into it. I can't imagine any Florida State Seminole fan who watched that interview saying, Greg, you're reading way too much into it. I mean, I believe you now. I believe all of you. I believe all of you. Okay, let's get to the Pac-12. And then we're going to open up the phone lines immediately. We're not going to read any articles. I'm not going to even show any captured images. We're going right to the comments, right to the phone calls. Florida State, Pac-12. We got to get to your phone calls. Arizona State Money Perch told us 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, when they get the deal, it's going to be hard to decipher, difficult to decipher, and we're getting that. According to Arizona State Money Perch, according to the Arizona State Money Perch today, after the numbers were presented, all those options in regards to Apple TV, subscriptions, what we can tell you is that from Arizona State perspective, per Arizona State Money Perch, if I have to put the word allegedly up, I will. When Arizona State is looking at this, their first look at it, now it could change, but the way they're looking at it when they're looking at the extreme options to the most conservative options and how much they're going to be based upon selling subscriptions and all that, they're looking at when it comes to budgeting. Let's say they took this deal when it came to budgeting purposes, they're putting the number at $22.5 million per school. The value of this deal. Again, it's almost impossible to get to a number. But that's the number Arizona State Money Perch was told. First look at it, maybe they adjust it, maybe they go a little bit lower. I know there's reports of really low numbers of $15, $20 million. Maybe Arizona State's too optimistic about how much they could, that the conference could sell and subscriptions and all that stuff. But you got to realize something. They've been looking at this for a while. This was officially presented to them. They were hoping to take this deal and put linear into it. So they have been projecting. The Arizona schools, as was told again by the Arizona State Money Perch months ago, a heavy streaming deal is not going to work. It's not going to work. Maybe in 2030, maybe in 2031, maybe in 2032, this type of deal, although Big Ten, the SEC, and whoever, if they're ever going to go major streaming, which they might do, it won't be this type of deal anyways. It won't be based on subscriptions sold. So I think that there's a very great likelihood that Arizona will be making a quick decision. I shouldn't say quick decision. This has been a decision they've been sitting on for quite a while, that they're at the center of the stage. This is why tonight it's Act 14. Act 13 was Colorado. Act 14 is Arizona. And then Act 15 is going to be Arizona State. And then Act 16 is going to be Utah. Right now it's Arizona. I do not believe that Arizona and Arizona State will make the decision at the same time, the announcement at the same time. I could take the L on that, but I think Arizona State has more work to do, just like Arizona had more work than Colorado to do. That's what we've been told. I know a lot of people believe that it's real cold between Arizona State and the Big 12 and Utah and the Big 12. It's not cold between Utah and the Big 12. It's a little cold between Arizona State and the Big 12. But I think Arizona would like Arizona State to come with them. There's no question about that. And I think it's going to happen. This deal is bad enough to where the Pac-12 collapses. And then we have the question of Oregon and Washington. And I think so there's been a lot A pickup, we know this. We know this. We tell no lies. There's been increased communication between Washington and Oregon and the Big Ten. But when Arizona drops the hammer, there's going to be direct communications between Oregon, Washington, and the Big Ten. Direct. And they're not going to be starting from scratch. A lot of work has been done previously because the Big Ten had strong interest in Oregon and Washington, with Kevin Warren in the commissioner's seat or not. So, $22.5 million, that's the way Arizona State is looking at it tonight. Maybe they look at it, you have to put some sort of number on it. Maybe they lower it, maybe they put it up $1 million. Somewhere around there, they think they can achieve that. There's a fancy word they're using. I can't even pronounce the word. There's a certain word they're using. This is the number. So that's the Arizona State money perch. We believe at Peek Around the Corner, Arizona is going to be making a decision quickly to join the Big 12. We don't think Arizona State's going to be a part of that. I think it's going to take a little bit more time for Arizona State. We could be wrong, but that's what we believe at this point. That's what the Arizona State money perch is telling us. And then Utah comes next. So Yormark, I think he's going for broke, and I think he's going to get it. Okay, I'm going to get to your comments right now. We have so much to talk about. Pac-12, what do you think? Do you think that this Apple-driven media package can save the Pac-12? Washington State and Oregon State, there might be a couple other schools that are in favor of it, but do you actually think Arizona is going to do this? They're going to put their big brand basketball behind Apple TV instead of going to the Big 12 to play on Fox Sports for the majority of their basketball games and the number one basketball conference in the country? Give me your thoughts. Okay, let's get to it. Thank you so much, everybody dropping in this Tuesday evening. Lee is in the house. Ryan Williams, Jared Jones, Gold Nose. Florida State isn't going to sit around. We are out. Did you watch that, Gold Nose? Did you watch Peter Collins in that interview? Oh, man. That was a pro-national conference response from Collins. I don't think there's any doubt. Am I misreading this? So far, nobody in the chat room has told me that my cheese has slipped off my cracker. Nobody has done that. Nobody has done that. Nobody has done that. I'm looking for any comment. Anybody that says, Greg, you're overdoing it. You're misreading Peter Collins. You're from Minnesota. You don't understand. Craig Kirsch, Florida State will be sued by ESPN if they go to the Big Ten. The interviewers were almost giddy. This thing is starting to leak like a sieve. And is the Clemson part right? Was that rumor correct? Is it Clemson and Florida State? Or is it Florida State, Miami, Florida? Because it sure looks like the Florida State part of that rumor is correct. In Washington and Oregon, I don't think it would happen this week. That's the major part that I don't agree with on the rumor, plus the Clemson thing. See you all 2 weeks crying because Florida State didn't get out from 2299 Mikey. Arizona, Nick Flynn, Arizona Board of Regents public meeting ended in about 90 seconds. The wait for the stream is longer than the meeting itself. Immediate executive session. So the public meeting lasted 90 seconds, and then it went to immediate executive session. And they're going to be talking about the media deal. I think that's pretty obvious. They're going to talk about the media deal. They're going to talk about the options for Arizona. And I think things are going to move real quickly for Arizona going into the Big 12. Tony, Craig, Florida State and the state of Florida are not afraid of going to court with Disney. Conundrum, $22.5 million is monkey poop. Joe Duck says that's a layup. Florida State can leave. People are overstating the binding of the GOR. Jungle Moose. Joe Duck says it's $15 million in commissions. And I think what Arizona State is looking at is their first look at it. They're thinking about $22 million is where they can get to, where the conference can get to. $22 million, $22.5 million to be more precise, per school per year. Now, they could be wrong, right? Maybe they're lowballing it. Maybe they're, putting too much money into their evaluation of this deal. But I'm telling you, that's what they think tonight. The first look at this difficult to decipher media deal that were finally presented to the Pac-12 presidents. We're going to get to your phone calls right now. And I'm going to continue to get to your comments. If you want me to highlight your comment and talk about it, put a dollar sign, hit that dollar sign, make a donation to the channel, but make sure you smash that like button if you like our content. It helps us with YouTube so very much. We're going to your phone calls right now. Let me open it up. It's open. 763-260-1333. Talk about anything you want. I need Seminole fans to call me. I need Immaculate to call me. I need everybody to call me. That Florida State interview, Peter Collins with War Chant tonight, is the shot heard around the college football world, and I'm not joking.
Call from
Immaculate.
Okay, you got a chance here. You got a chance. You got a chance to be a PATC legend. You are one already. However,
I was gonna say that, man, that's awesome, but also at the same time it stings.
Yeah. No, look. Tell me. I need somebody to tell me, Greg, you are being an idiot. You are way over your skis on this. Peter Collins didn't say all those things that you thought he said. Tell me that. Tell me I'm wrong, Immaculate.
I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I am not overstating this at all. There were times during the interview when I literally got chills.
Yeah?
I was, at first it was starting, I was laughing because people in chat were like, this guy's not going to tell us anything. He's kind of picking his way through it. But the amount of things that this man said, and to come out and say this the day before this meeting tomorrow, and with everything going on, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
I was stunned. I was checking
are
myself.
You really safe? I mean, to me, this is how it comes off. Like, I have been FSU to the SEC. They're gonna, this is to get their attention, whatever. Well, if this doesn't do it, I don't know what does. If they don't hear this loud and clear, here we go, FSU to the Big Ten.
Yeah. They're going.
His statement about the GOR? What? Sorry?
No, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. His statement about the GOR, though, saying we know all about it, we've looked into it, and that is not the document that would keep us from doing what we want to do.
What? So, I know. So, my jaw hit the floor My jaw hit the floor. I had to pick up my chin. My question is, what document are they more worried about then?
I'm guessing, my opinion, is the exit fee cost. And I think what he's saying is that tomorrow's booster meet, when the boosters come with the loan, that's what that money is for.
Well,
because the exit fee is pretty hefty. I mean, compared to what some people have said about the GOR money, no, but it's still a pretty hefty amount that they would need to find a way to finance. And there might be more to it than that, but people can say that that's a bad take on it, or that's not what it was. But that was his words. This man wasn't. I mean, he wasn't 100% direct, but he wasn't really mincing words with his answers.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. And okay, now a lot of people in the chat are saying, Florida State's going to get sued. They got no chance. Maybe. Okay, that you know what? That could very well be the true, right?
I actually think FSU is going to do this suing. From what chats have had in the background about the ACC network, they're bringing up actual charges of fraud on the old commissioner of the ACC, and the argument for it. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah,
it seemed pretty compelling to me to what I saw. If true, if that's they got evidence for it. They can show this, and most of those conversations are all going to be timed and have notes, and it's not going to be like some, smoke in a dusty room type of a conversation. I mean, these are official conversations, so there is evidence of all those conversations.
Yeah.
And just, as some say, suing does not mean it goes to court. It likely means a settlement, but you got to raise suit really before that happens.
A couple things here. Scott Geyer asked, Greg, do you still believe the SEC will eat first over the ACC? Not after that interview. Because Peter Collins was asked a brilliant question about geography. Geography is no more important, right, to college football.
Yep.
And his answer, I don't know. My jaw was still on the floor by the previous answers, but he said basically like, yeah, it'd be nice if we could drive nearby, right, and be regional. But that's kind of traditional, and maybe it's better if I don't know. How did he say it, Immaculate? Basically, he was saying Big Ten, National Conference.
Yeah, and I put this in chat with some folks and got some response to it. What I got from that was, yeah, we would like the SEC for the local games and for ease of travel. And we would like the SEC, but we are not afraid of the travel, and we're not afraid of those opportunities. And the amount that he went into stuff about research and things, that it all seemed like he was making a case of we are not afraid to join the Big Ten. So to me, it felt like a final call out of make it happen or we're gone.
Okay, and I guess this is where I'm at. Okay, so people in the chat are saying Florida State's going to get sued, whatever, and that all might be true. But I'm focusing right now on the act of actually withdrawing from the conference officially, which means they write a letter of withdrawal to the commissioner. They also write a letter to withdraw to the other ACC presidents. That's why when sometimes I hear people saying, well, Florida State, if they withdraw from the conference but they've got it all, or we don't hear anything. If we don't hear anything about them withdrawing, it may be that they're secretly in with the SEC, right? You've heard that, right, Immaculate?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not buying that because this thing's going to leak either way to me because they're sending this letter to all the other presidents if they're withdrawing. That's the story. Just that action alone is a gigantic, huge story that's going to have ripple effects. Yeah, and they might get drilled. They might get sued. This might not work. But them actually withdrawing to the ACC, and then I think it's going to happen after that interview. But the question I have for Immaculate, and for everybody else, yes, Collins kept saying national. CFB playoff edits, yes, he kept saying national. My question to you, Immaculate, is, and it's going to be my question to the Seminoles when fans call in tonight, is Peter Collins, what he said tonight, the night before the meeting of tomorrow at the Board of Trustees at Florida State University, you say, Immaculate, you say this is like the last call, that like the last bluff maybe, or the last, look, he's sending up, is this a real sending of the message to ESPN that you better play ball with us or we're going to the Big Ten? Or, Immaculate, is this all laid down where Florida State is going to go announce the withdrawal of the ACC and go into the Big Ten no matter what?
No, I think that this is the last card laid down. If we're playing poker, all five are down on the table. Here it is. Here's the last bluff, last call, last bet, last, whatever people want to believe it is. They can believe whatever they want. But this felt like it. This felt like they brought out the big gun, the final guy, right out on Warchant, out in public. This wasn't like some sneaky leak out through some guy who puts it on Twitter and then writes a little piece of paper about it. Like, this was on camera, everyone to see. Go ahead, come have at it. This is how it is. And that was my feeling of it. And people can think whatever they want, and I can go into the details of the ACC network, but that's not really what we're doing here, and they can think what they want. But I honestly, everything I've seen, this felt real. Everything that we're getting from FSU guys behind the scenes, that feels real.
All of it. I think all of it's real. And then, like Jason here in the chat, Kirk Herbstreit predicted all of this. Florida State and other ACC schools are going to the SEC.
Remember how much I talked about him?
Yeah. But let me push back a little bit.
Okay.
If Peter Collins and the president, Florida State, if it was all line, if they had if a deal was already made, or they were optimistic that a deal was already made with ESPN moving some pieces around, getting ACC to acquiesce, that whole thing, like a whole bunch of stuff has moved, right?
Yeah.
If that was the case, if it was all done here by Tuesday, August 1st, heading into the Board of Regents meeting tomorrow, would Peter Collins, would he have answered the questions in the way he answered the questions tonight? I don't think so. I actually think the Big Ten option is 100% in play as of August 1st. So it's either a bluff, he's using the Big Ten, which very well could be, or it's not even a bluff. It's they've already made the decision, we're going to the Big Ten because ESPN has been screwing with us. Go ahead.
I think it's both. I think, they feel like they could leave the conference right now and have 100% an invite from the Big Ten. Now, maybe what they don't know is that whether or not they'd have an invite from the SEC. But they're 100% okay with taking an invite to the Big Ten if they don't get an invite to the SEC. That's my thing. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the Big Ten. I mean, this is kind of new to me. I didn't see this coming this quickly, so I was unprepared as well.
No.
So, but that's my calling is that I think that if they get an invite from the SEC last second, I think they'll take it. But I 100% think that they are prepared and willing and able to take an invite from the Big Ten if that's what they get.
Okay, thank you, Immaculate. Thanks for that phone call. I appreciate you calling.
No problem.
Thank you so much. We got more phone calls. I got Opie with the super chat. I got questions for Opie. Thank you, Immaculate, man. You're the guy. You are the guy. PATC legend. Holy cow. I could talk to Immaculate all day.
I had to get the first call.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said we'll talk again soon, but I had to get the first call in tonight. This was big.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Holy smokes. Opie, this is the link to the interview with Peter Collins. And did you ever have a cracker for that cheese? Okay, hold on.
Call from
Mo and Vision.
Mo and Vision, I need you to hold on a second.
No
Opie
problem,
just-
Greg. Go for it.
Opie just cracked me open here. Did you ever have a cracker for that cheese? Thank you for the super chat, Opie. I want Opie to call. I wonder what he's thinking right now. I am okay. Ryan, thank you so much, Opie. Appreciate it. Ryan Brooks, not worried about the GOR because of the dissolution theory. I don't think Peter Collins was going there. In fact, what we've been told is that Florida State really has not been able to get anybody else on board on this mission that they're on, or a suicide mission, however you want to believe it. We're not even sure Clemson's aboard, but according to the rumors, it looks like they're going to follow Florida State. Okay, Monovision, did you hear Peter Collins today?
Yes, I watched all the interview.
Holy smokes. Okay, this is the chance. This is the opportunity. Monovision, tell me that I am absolutely off my crack. The cheese has slipped off my cracker.
You are not wrong, and I just want to say it's great to follow Immaculate and tell him he's wrong. That is 100% Florida State letting the ACC know we're out. We've got big plans. He mentioned it several times, the financials. What conference is going to give Florida State more money than the Big Ten?
Yeah. I don't have, well, nobody is, but
That's the answer, Greg. There
Yeah.
is nobody who can. If it comes down to financials, the Big Ten can beat the SEC in media money. If it comes down to financials, the Big Ten can beat the SEC in research money. And if you notice, he made a very good point there. He said, what's best for our institution? And then he brought up their new medical center
yeah,
and the possibility of additional medical research.
yeah.
And he specifically, I thought, threw a shot at Florida in there, bringing up the fact that they've been hamstrung by other universities within the state, which was a direct shot at the University of Florida. So
Yeah.
I don't. This isn't a bluff to get ESPN to pay him more. This isn't a bluff to get ESPN to put them into the SEC. This is him saying we're leaving the ACC, and
we're going to the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's start the bidding. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean,
Okay.
The Big Ten's got the most media money, the most research money.
Okay, so you said start the bidding. This is what I can't grasp. If Florida State is actually going to officially withdraw from the ACC by August 15th, I mean, this thing could go down tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. But let's say they do that and they send the notice to all the ACC presidents. You think they're doing that without a clear landing spot? I mean, I think they've got a landing spot with Big Ten. So in other
they've got a
words,
landing spot.
huh?
Yeah, their brand is valuable. Their brand is valuable enough, Greg. They've got a landing spot in any conference they want.
Okay, but what if okay, but okay. No, see, I know they have an unbelievable brand. I get that. But what I'm saying is I don't think they do this without having indirect talks with the Big Ten to the point where they know that they could go to the Big Ten. Because they can't sit there and withdraw, and then the Big Ten legal counsel, who's had a hard time moving on to Washington and Oregon, but they're not going to have a hard time pretty soon here. You know, it's like they can't be stuck in a spot where ESPN turns to, SEC says no, and the Big Ten says we can't do it until you officially out of the grant of rights and you whatever. You know what I'm saying? There must be Tony Petitti must be talking to Florida State, or representatives of Tony Petitti, I should say.
I would say that people who are not directly involved with either of them are having hypothetical conversations. For example, hypothetically, if you left the ACC, the Big Ten would be able to negotiate with its existing media partners to pay you in the range of $100 million annually in media money. Because Florida State's one of those brands where it's not just going to raise, it's not going to dilute, it's going to make more money for everybody involved. Purdue, Minnesota, Iowa, those schools that were worried about their money going down, their money's going up adding a Florida State. Their money's going up adding a Clemson.
Now we have breaking news according to Jamie Thornton. Chris Lowe, an SEC reporter, is saying that Greg Sankey wants to make a move for Miami and North Carolina.
Okay, there you go.
Well, somebody can send a link to my DM. Nothing against Jamie, but if someone can confirm that Chris Lowe actually said this, that would be great. Or if someone else can confirm it in the chat. Yes, it was on ESPN Radio. That's what Jamie Thornton is saying. That's all that he would say. Again, this gets back to Brett McMurphy's eye emoji. Thank you, No Sir, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much for your generosity. Man, oh man, I tell you.
Well, I mean, Greg, listen.
Yeah.
If they're going for Miami and North Carolina, that means there's smoke to Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah.
You're not even breaching that subject if Florida State and Clemson is available. So obviously the SEC has a good idea that Florida State and Clemson are heading to the Big Ten.
Okay.
And they're going to target the next two big brands, which are Miami and UNC.
Okay. So let's okay. This is where I get in trouble because we're gonna go down a rabbit hole with Monovision, and people are gonna accuse me of reporting something, which I'm not reporting. We're just speculating. We're going down the rabbit hole. Okay? All right, Monovision. We've talked about this before. We've even had discussions today on it. What if the rumors are true? What if Oregon and Washington and Florida State and Clemson are schools number 17, 18, 19, and 20? You have a 20-team Big Ten composition. What is the structure of the Big Ten starting in 2024? A 20-team, no division conference, and then they parse it out to a four divisions of 5 teams, and how would that work?
Well, Greg, I mean, if we're going off if we're still speculating that the SEC is looking at North Carolina and Miami,
yeah,
I don't think it's a 20-team Big Ten. It's a 24-team Big Ten. Because Notre Dame's got to fit in there somewhere. If the ACC doesn't, Notre Dame has to fit in there. So you're at least getting to 21.
Okay. So we're trying to go down a rabbit hole, and you're going into some deep, dark cave that's 15 miles below the surface. Notre Dame. So it's a 21 team conference. Are you saying it's 24 by 2024?
I'm saying it's 24 by 2026.
Okay.
I think there's only going to be 3 conferences by the time 2026 rolls around.
Thank you, Nathan, for the super chat. I appreciate you so very much for your generosity. It's a full-blown realignment. Again, holy smokes. Clemson.
Yep.
Clemson. Monovision. Clemson. Clemson in the Big Ten. If that happens, well, Greg Pflugar has never said Clemson to the Big Ten.
Neither has Moenvision, so.
But it was added. But it was added to Brett McMurphy's last tweet where he said the targeted schools. He added Clemson in that tweet. He had Washington, Oregon. He had Notre Dame. He had Florida State. He had Miami, Florida. He had Clemson.
And North Carolina, right? He had North Carolina.
Yeah. In Virginia, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
And from the reporting that the chat is telling us about, the SEC is targeting Miami and North Carolina all of a sudden.
Well, that's one person, Jamie Thornton, said that.
Okay.
I have not seen anybody else say that. I have no confirmation of it. But it's logical, right? I mean, if it's logical, because if this Clemson Florida State is real, then SEC's got to act, and of course they're going to get North Carolina, and they probably don't want the Big Ten to have 2 Florida schools. So,
right, and I mean, if you're the Big Ten and you get Florida State, you've already won the Florida sweepstakes.
Yeah. So
Miami's a good brand, but Florida State's a much better brand.
Okay, so you got Florida. You got Florida State. You got Clemson. Notre Dame has to come along because there's no ACC anymore. Who's the next 3?
Well, you got Oregon and Washington.
But that's Notre Dame makes it 21. If
Next
you go
3,
to 24,
you gotta have
Monovision, if you go to 24, you might have to pick up another Western school or 2.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I'm thinking East Coast, you can't grab Virginia without grabbing Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I think you're going to run into too many government issues.
The Attorney General, General has spoken on that. He's not going to have, he's not going to have one of those schools. Go ahead, Monovision.
I know you hate it, but Georgia Tech's out there. It's Atlanta. It's a travel partner for FSU and Clemson.
Yeah, but Clemson.
That's the only other ACC school I can think of. Maybe Pitt, but you're really going to have Penn State fighting to keep Pitt out.
Maybe Syracuse.
Syracuse, that's a possibility. I mean, New York, you've already got the New York.
But the amount of money, I don't see that either. You know, Clemson is so close to Georgia on the one side of the border, northern border. They're 25 miles away from Georgia. Tallahassee's Panhandle. I don't think they really need Georgia Tech.
Well, I mean, you may have me stumped here, Greg. This is why I said I'm not going to do any more configurations until this is all settled. It's just moving too fast. I mean, you could add Kansas from the Big 12 to get one more in that division with Nebraska and Iowa. Out west, you still have ASU, Utah, Cal. I don't know, Greg.
I don't know either.
But I don't want to take up too much time.
Got it. Thank you, Monovision.
I know there's a lot of Florida State people calling in.
Got it.
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Hold on. Appreciate it. Yeah, I get that. Crab Cakes and Football. Mr. Terrapin, thank you so much for your super chat. Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson, Stanford. Looks like Maryland's going to have some company up on the East Coast.
Call from
Eric,
Eric, the floor is yours. What's going on, sir?
how's it going, buddy?
We're hanging in there at Peek Around the Corner. We're a little overwhelmed. Peter Collins, the chair of the Board of Trustees at Florida State, had an interview with War Chant this evening, and as Ryan Michaels says, all hell's breaking loose. That was the interview that everybody in the chat room, everybody in the PATC community needs to listen to after this show is over. Or go listen to it and come back. Go listen to it and come back and chat about it, because that interview was the shot heard around the college football world. Eric, the floor is yours.
I absolutely agree. Like you, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I got, I think, most of the pertinent parts of it. I have a couple quick comments about the ACC thing, then I kind of want to focus in real quick on the PAC and the Big 12.
Yep.
Here's a school, and I know probably everybody's going to laugh at me and say not only did the cheese fall off my cracker, but I took the salt with it.
Yeah.
But here's a school that I think would fit good in the Big Ten. Now, I know they're small, but man, it really fits the kind of school they like to go after as far as academics, prestige, and all that kind of stuff. What about Duke?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, we're going down now another rabbit hole. We may get to the point, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but we may be getting to the point where for everybody to not get bogged down legally, we might get to the point where most of these ACC schools get parceled out, and that some of them will be going to the Big 12. And in that case, maybe a Duke to the Big 12. I don't see Duke to the SEC. I don't see Duke to the Big 10. I don't see it. I know they're incredible large research university. Maybe. I think they're right on the edge.
Yeah, they definitely fit all the type of economic or academic profile and stuff they want. I just don't know if they're a big enough school as a small private school. Usually the Big Ten wants big universities with big public schools with a lot of alumni. At least that's what I've noticed. But they certainly do fit the academic profile. Here's the part of it I don't get that kind of stumps me, and maybe you can help me understand it. The Big Ten is so resident to jump and grab Oregon and Washington first because of lawsuits and not wanting to appear as the one that broke up the Pac-12 and everything. So part of me is wondering, okay, is Florida State over their skis a little bit, kind of like San Diego State, just in this one little sense? Let's say that they leave the ACC on the 15th. If they're entangled in all kinds of lawsuits and grant of rights issues and lawsuits and stuff like that are going to take a year or two or more to resolve, is the Big Ten really going to want to offer them at that point, or are they going to want to wait until some of that stuff's resolved?
That's a great question. And that's why I get back to what Florida State is doing. I think what they're about to do is incredibly risky. But to do it without knowing that you have a landing spot is unbelievably risky. And I don't see how at this point they would know they have a landing spot with the SEC. Therefore, they must have reason to believe they have a landing spot with the Big Ten. After listening to Peter Collins' interview, that's the only way I can see how this is playing out. And I can't believe I'm saying it. On August 1st, 2023, after listening to that interview.
I agree with you. And I wouldn't say how people were talking about, was it a bluff? I don't think it's a bluff. I think it's more of a warning or a threat. And anybody that's dealt with kids knows any punishment that you threaten, you have to be willing to carry out. So I think it's kind of a warning. it's a warning to not so much a bluff, but a warning and a threat right in the face of the SEC. Like, if you don't want to play ball with us, ESPN, because that would be the easier, less expensive path for us. If you don't want to play ball with us, we will go to the, the Big Ten, and any warning that you're willing to give, you have to be willing to carry out. So they must know something. They must know something.
Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on the Oregon and the whole thing with the Pac-12 today, because that was kind of fascinating today as well. I'm wondering with that, everybody, I have a lot of friends say, well, Oregon and Washington, Fox will just have them go to the Big 12 because they can get them cheaper. And my answer to that, I think you would agree, is no, they can't, because people forget ESPN, even though I'm a Big 12 guy, ESPN has the Tier 1 rights to that conference, not Fox. And most of Oregon and Washington's games would be Tier 1 games, so Fox would not get Oregon and Washington. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't think ESPN owns all of the Big 12 top football games. They own the majority. I think it's something like, I want to say something like 12, 14 out of the top 20. They don't have it all. Some of the Tier 1 games is going to be on Fox for the Big 12. Some of the top picks during the year is going to be on Fox.
And what I find... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And what I find hilarious about this deal with Apple is basically they've turned every athletic director, every coach, every administrator in the athletic department in every school basically into a commission salesman. So basically now they're all commission salesmen with a small base. So now they got to all run out there and sell the pack. And from people that have looked into it have said the escalator clauses in this to get the extra money are so unrealistic that they're not going to hit probably any of them or very few of them. It's basically put in Apple's favor, and most of these possible increases will never be hit. And there'll be like guys that go door to door with a clipboard, trying to sell you a cable subscription. So they've turned them all into commission salesmen. And the other thing I heard is, I don't know if this is true, but there's some people that saying that it's per team. So if Washington and Oregon, which have bigger markets, they have a way of tracking who sells the subscription. So if Washington and Oregon sell more than, say, a small school like Oregon State or Utah, who's a little bit smaller market, it's on an individual basis that you get the increases. And if that's true, that's really crazy.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's not going to work, and I think we're going to have teams. I think Arizona's going to leave pretty soon. I think Arizona State's going to follow. I think Utah's going to follow. Then the whole deal's going to collapse. So I think that's how it's all going down.
And I think Brett Yormark, if he's smart, please, Brett, stop at one or two. Take Arizona State, and stop, because it looks like this ACC thing's going to fall apart sooner than we all thought. And you can leave some space to pick up some teams on the Eastern time zone. Leave Utah and some of the other schools there, because this is breaking up faster than he thought. And if I was Brett Yormark, I would take Arizona and Arizona State. And the reason I take over Arizona State over Utah is BYU and Utah, they share the same Salt Lake Metro TV market. They're in the same market. Okay. Tucson and Phoenix are two separate TV markets. So that's why I would
respectfully disagree with you. If they have the chance to get Utah, you go get yourself Utah.
Oh, I think he will. But if it was between Arizona State and Utah, which one would you take, knowing that BYU?
You get them all. You get them all. You get to 16, and then you wait for Fox and ESPN to come to the table if ACC implodes, and have them wheel and deal Pittsburgh, Louisville, possibly North Carolina State, possibly Virginia Tech. We'll see what happens. But I got a lot of phone calls, Eric, to get to. So,
and get to 20. So you're saying get to 20 teams, basically like the Big Ten. Hey, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I agree the show. I appreciate the show. And again, no personal attacks, guys, and have a blessed day.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we got some super chats. I apologize. Bill G. Whoa, Nelly. Who would have thought all this would break loose a month ago? Hold on.
Call from
Jasper Penger.
Yeah, can you hold on a second, sir? Can you hold on?
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Bill G. Whoa, Nelly. Who would have thought all this would break loose a month ago? Thanks for the update, Godfather. Thank you, Bill G., for your generosity. I appreciate that so very much. George Perrette. There is a world of difference between Atlanta, Georgia Tech, and Clemson. No one in Atlanta gives a crap about Clemson. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you for that correction. Sometimes, a lot of times, you got to correct the fat guy from Minnesota on the happenings down there in Georgia and whose world is who down there. So I appreciate it, George, for your super chat. I appreciate you setting me straight. Everybody seems to have to do that from time to time. Gerald Jones, thanks for the super chat. Big Ten SEC about to go to war over expansion. I'm ready for it. Thanks for the best expansion coverage anywhere, Godfather. Thank you, Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye. So the Buckeyes, are you getting worried about the Golden Gophers? Second to the last game of the season? Nah, you're probably not. Okay, caller, the floor is yours. Thanks, Jared Jones, for your continued generosity. Okay, caller, what was your name again?
Jasper.
Jasper, thanks for calling, man. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Thanks. So I'm actually an Oregon guy, but I was going to ask a question about the ACC. If Clemson and Florida State go, as this has been going on, essentially, who would the travel partners be? Do you think it would be Duke, Georgia Tech, maybe the Virginia schools? And how long do you think, in terms of a time frame, if Florida State were to announce before August 15th, how long of a time frame do you think we're looking at on these moves from these schools?
Well, I'm expecting. Look, any school that wants to play in a different conference in 2024, they have to have the withdrawal notice in by August 15th, right? So I expect it's August 1st. The next 2 weeks are going to get crazy. Absolutely crazy, Jasper. If this is what's really going down, and I think it's what's really going down because of this Peter Collins interview. Now, in regards to your question about travel partner. So your question is, if Florida State and Clemson goes to the Big Ten, I can't believe I'm saying this. If Florida State and Clemson goes to the Big Ten, and you're wondering if the Big Ten then grows to 24, is that what your question is?
Yeah.
What are the combos? What are the combos? What do you think will be the combos for the Big Ten? How do you get from 20 to 24?
I would think if you're putting Oregon and Washington in Florida State and Clemson in at 20, I'd probably say Notre Dame, Stanford, Duke, and Georgia Tech. The latter two being the travel partners for Clemson and Florida State, and the former two for USC and UCLA.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, because I know that Duke not being a state school, there wouldn't be any political problem with removing them.
Well,
and Georgia Tech. Sorry.
Yeah. What about North Carolina State though? I mean, if North Carolina's getting moved, if this is all part of some coordinated dance between the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 picking up the pieces, North Carolina State's going to have to get satisfied, I think. Don't you think that?
Yeah, I agree. But wouldn't that be on the SEC to satisfy that if North Carolina is going there?
Sure.
Because I I'm under the impression that what the rule is that they have to be going to the same conference.
Okay.
Not necessarily that they're both satisfied in terms of revenue.
Okay.
But that could change. It could be flexible maybe if they're actually.
I know the Attorney
Getting
General of the state of Virginia, I believe it was July 24th, about a week ago, said in an interview that Virginia and Virginia Tech, they don't have to go to the same conference. But if one's going to the SEC, the other one has to go to the SEC or to the Big Ten. I'm paraphrasing it, but that is what he said in that interview. One of them is not going to get left behind in regards to the Power 2 conference. So they're both going to have to go to the Big 12, or both are going to have to go to the SEC or the Big Ten. Now, what North Carolina is at the same situation with the two big public schools, North Carolina and North Carolina State, I do not know.
Yeah, that's a question that should probably be looked into if this is actually going to be happening. But I was thinking Duke because it fits sort of the profile of a Big Ten school, like a Northwestern.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Georgia Tech as well.
Yep.
I'm not sure if those schools would hold up in terms of revenue, but in terms of research, they're very big programs.
Yeah, you're correct.
Football,
You're correct.
Basketball, etc.
You're correct. The issue is, if you're bringing in a Florida State, if you're bringing in a Clemson, if you're bringing in a Notre Dame at School 21, your next additions, and this is not a knock on any of the potential candidates, but your next additions do dilute the value of the money of the previous 21 schools, right? I mean, once you lock in a Florida State, Clemson, and let's say you do a Notre Dame, a School 21, then any school you add is only going to shrink the pie because unless you're, but again, 21 number is kind of a difficult number to have as a conference. So they might have to go to 24. I don't know. This is crazy. August 1st, 2023. Did not expect this.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for the phone call, sir.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jasper. Wow. Thanks for the phone call. Geyer says it's going to 24. How about the PAC? Well, we talked about the PAC earlier on the show.
Call from
Nasty BYU liar.
to accept, press 1.
Nasty BYU liars on the line. The floor is yours.
Hey Greg, this is Ryan, but oh wow.
Yeah.
I've got whiplash, Greg. I've got whiplash.
Yes.
There's a lot to cover here.
Yes, it
But
is.
I want to point out something people should realize. First of all, I think Sam was spot on that Utah, ASU, and Arizona are a package deal. I think he's spot on, and I think the Big 12 will take it, and ESPN will pay pro rata for those three, and I think Fox is going to play pro rata because Utah football has value.
Yeah, they're going to do that. Yeah.
I mean, so anything that you hear about 14 or Fox not paying pro rata for 15 and 16, I think is absolute hogwash that you should just throw in the garbage. It's just not true. And I'm saying that as a BYU fan who hates Utah, and I do not like them, but I got to be objective here, Greg, and call it how I see it. So I think they would get the invite. And also, I mean, it would be, and also we can't leave Wild Ute and Larry out there stranded. They need to have a place. That's the thing. But if that happens, if those three depart, and it's just the Northwest schools in Cal and Stanford. I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee, I bet $2 million Hungarian dollars that the Big Ten will pick up Washington and Oregon. And let me tell you why. If Washington and Oregon are left to rot and essentially emerge Pac-12 Mountain West or Pac-12, that's all Apple streaming, the brands of Washington and Oregon will depreciate over the next 5 years. And that will hurt the Big Ten's ability, if they pick them up later, because that value will have depreciated because of lack of exposure, lack of strength of schedule, and essentially less resources to grow the conference. The value of Oregon and Washington, if you pick them up 5 or 6 years from now after having basically stagnated, will give the Big Ten less negotiating power to get money for them in the next TV contract. The smarter thing will happen is what they'll do is they'll bring them in at a discount, and they will let them appreciate in the Big Ten for the next 5, 6 years, and then get more out of them with the next TV deal. I think the legal... what I don't understand, Greg, is people saying that the Big Ten is going to somehow, they're legally scared to take Washington and Oregon right now, yet they're willing to jump in and take Florida State.
I think they are willing to take Washington. I think we're 48 hours away from Big Ten willing to take Washington and Oregon.
No, I agree. And that's my point is I think the Big Ten, what you're likely going to see is Washington and Oregon for the next 5 or 6 years may make some concessions to make the Purdues, the Minnesotas, the Illinois, and Northwesterns and Indianas happy. But I think they're coming. And, I think that's a done deal. And the Big Ten will probably be at 18. Now, as far as the ACC goes, Greg, that is, we're the Holy Smokes Theater might as well turn into a high, it's got a James Bond, flip going right now because this is high stakes poker.
Yes,
it
is.
This is crazy. FSU, I think the Big Ten would pick them up, but I don't think the Big Ten's talking to them formally right now in any capacity.
About informally though, indirectly they have to be talking.
So I think probably you might have Gene Smith or some influential Big Ten athletic directors, basically flying down to Florida and having coffee in Tallahassee and having informal talks about what things would look like. I guarantee you that, but there's going to be no paper trail, no phone trail, no anything. Until that happens, because the big difference between Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC and USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten is those discussions with the conference were related to a period after the grant of rights. At no time did the Big Ten or SEC have any intention, nor did the departing schools have any intention to violate their existing contract. It was all prospective. The difference in this situation is because the grant of rights and the contract is out to 2036, you have a serious issue here because, no ACC school is going to say, well, we're leaving after the 2036 season. That's kind of laughable, right? You do have a real situation. You could possibly have a breach of contract, and I think that I think it's a big mess.
Let me read, if I could, the exact words from Peter Collins, the chair of the Board of Trustees at Florida State University, this one part when he talks about the GOR. He was asked about the ACC grant of rights agreement. This was Peter Collins this evening on War Chant. We understand the documents very well. We understand our positions on those documents. We understand the legal arguments in that document. We understand who the actual parties would be under those documents. We have a very good handle on what our risks and opportunities are under that document. That's the least of my worries based on what we know. So when I say we have a good handle on that, the GOR, we understand it. We have gotten a lot of counsel on that document, and that will not be the document that keeps us from taking action.
I respectfully disagree with him, but I do see where first of all, the 2012 GOR that's out there, and the 2016 amendment. The 2016 amendment, all it changes is it adds in and includes the ACC network as part of the ESPN agreement, and it extends the date. Other than that, there is no material, substantive, legal change whatsoever to that GOR because of the 2016 amendment. Now, or I think Florida State might have an argument, Greg, is if Notre Dame, and Moen Vision said this more eloquently than I could, but if Notre Dame leaves for the Big Ten, that will seriously impair the value of the ACC network.
Yeah, that's what the Florida State Money Perch told us back, and we reported that on March 31st.
And I think that will be the route that the Magnificent Seven will go. I don't know where some of them will end up. I don't know how far the SEC is willing to go. That remains to be seen. I mean, I think if the Big Ten had it their way for the remaining six after Oregon and Washington, for the remaining six to get to 24 they would want, I'd have to think it would be UVA, UNC, Georgia Tech, Miami, FSU, and number 6 would probably be they would probably add in Duke just to have that with North Carolina.
Got it.
Now, I don't know what would happen. Go ahead, but I'm going to let other callers get on, Greg.
We got breaking news. So
oh boy,
get off the line and you can listen to the breaking news. I appreciate it. Great call.
Take care, Greg. Bye.
Thank you. We got breaking news.
Call from
Monopoly.
Is this Western Civic?
How you doing, Greg?
Good. I got breaking news. You got to hold on a second.
All right.
In Big 12 country, the era of J.J. Cole might be beginning sooner than we all realized. Iowa State Cyclones starting quarterback Hunter Dekkers was charged with tampering with records involving the ongoing sports gambling investigation of athletes at Iowa State and Iowa. According to Iowa court records, Iowa State quarterback charged with tampering amid a gambling case. And I love J.J. Cole, the true freshman. I don't know if he's ready to play this year, but a major hit to the Iowa State Cyclones football program. We're going into August camp. Some people call it fall camp. Hunter Dekkers. Ooh, yikes. Okay, Western Civic, thanks for your patience. The floor is yours.
I feel bad for the kid. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wonder about that. A lot of these scandals going around everywhere. I don't know. I'm sort of I got two things I want to touch on, and I'll try to be quick, hopefully. Mostly a reaction to what I've heard since the show started. But I'm sort of a student of the ruling class, Godfather Gopher.
Yes.
And how they operate and how they do things. And so watch out. If your institution starts getting hit with a lot of scandals, that might be the relegation jackals that are really like nameless, faceless people that you don't even know about and don't work with the regular folks that show up on relegation day. But anyway, let's get to the 2 points. The first one, so from that though, I generally believe this is largely a controlled demolition, and you've heard me say that. And for all the people that are surprised at how fast things have been moving, I want to, I got the receipts because I'm the one who's been saying this is coming. So let's look at the logic. If this is an overarching controlled demolition and we are largely on the retail end of the entertainment wing of the program, and I don't want to put a wet blanket on all of it because it sure is a hell of a lot of fun. But look, if the Big Ten takes Florida State, it's over. That's it. The Big Ten will end up managing all of college athletics. It's over. There's no possible way the SEC could survive the loss of FSU. Any talk of them being a regional conference would end at that point.
I'm sorry.
Would be scrambling to meet.
Can you repeat?
Go ahead.
Can you repeat what you just said? Who can't survive the loss of Florida State?
The SEC.
How about they're in the ACC?
Oh, I know that.
Wait.
I'm saying, I know, Greg, of course.
But the SEC is going to survive without Florida State.
No, not if the Big gets them. If the Big Ten takes Florida State, the Big Ten will end up managing all of college athletics. That will be the end of parity with the SEC. That's why it won't happen, Greg. Okay? The Magnificent Seven are the SEC 7. And let me tell you, if I am wrong about that, then anything I have said is gone, because then all bets are off and it's a free-for-all, and it truly is not a controlled demolition, and who knows what's going to happen. Because I'm telling you, that would be any break-in, pretty much, I don't know, maybe if they picked off NC State, but they're not going to do that, or pick off Virginia Tech by themselves, the SEC could survive. But if they get Florida State or Miami or Clemson, it's over. Okay? The Mag 7, the Magnificent 7, was a statement by the SEC. We will allow encroachment in the South as far as Georgia Tech and Duke and maybe Tulane, but no further. And if they fail, if they don't hold that line, that's it. That's it. The SEC will not survive. How are they going to compete with the Big Ten if they lose those southern schools? If the Big Ten gets a major footprint in the heart of the SEC, forget about it. It's over. So that's why I don't think it will happen. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is, damn them Zubies, man. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking by going to the Big 12. If it was a total lack of foresight, they didn't understand that everybody was going to the three conferences were coming, if they were that in the dark about it, and they have just put us all at risk of being permanently relegated in the mountain region. Seriously, when I made that point about, Colorado, if they were to do that, that would be the greatest self-immolation since Tulane left the SEC. But there was one other self-immolation before that, and that's when BYU gave up those amazing independent schedules to go play in Lubbock, Stillwater, Iowa State, and whatever else. And that's fine. I don't mean to make fun of it. Great. It's going to be a great conference, but it's not top tier. So if BYU, you want to be in the second tier, well, you're welcome at it. We at Utah want to play top tier football.
Okay.
And Greg, I will not log in to watch football. Thanks for
no
the
more
show,
war. Okay.
No more war, and someday let's get some annual playoff flexibility. Hey, Greg?
Got it. Thank
Be good
you,
to us, Godfather. Have mercy. Good Lord.
Appreciate it. Okay. So SEC is going to survive. Yes, the Big Ten. Maybe they start winning some national college football championships. Maybe. But the SEC is not going anywhere. They're going to come back. They're going to expand. SEC is not dying. Holy smokes. Steve, Cincinnati Bearcat. What is going on? Holy smokes.
Pretty crazy day, huh?
Oh, and you know what? And it's going to get crazier. Wait a second. Can I, Steve, can you hold on 1 second, please?
Sure.
I've read some of the Peter Collins comments. This was another one. From the interview tonight at War Chant. Peter Collins,
I watched
chair.
the whole thing.
You watched it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell everyone what we're working on right now. I can tell you that I'm very confident in where we'll be. We'll be in a good place. I'm telling you, Steve. Tell me. No one has said yet that that the cheese has slipped off my cracker. Maybe you will be the one that does it. Tell me.
I can't yet.
Tell me.
I'm sitting here in my recliner watching this, and you know that reaction you have when you're startled when someone says something?
Yeah.
I was startled like 5 times.
Yes.
I had to regroup.
Yes.
And I'm going, he just didn't say that, you know. And it's it's no accident that he went on there today because of what's going to transpire tomorrow. I mean, it's no accident he went on there and said what he said.
Yes, sir.
That was no accident. And the other thing that I don't know if I should say, I don't know how to define. I think amused was the best definition I could give you. Is he put the entire ACC on alert, along with the SEC, the Big Ten, ESPN, and basically all of college football. He put on alert.
Yes.
And said, listen, everybody listen to this. And I was just, I mean, that guy is the head of the board of trustees, and I'm going, I was going, he didn't say that, you know. And then when you read these 2 things he says, and you hear him again, it just reinforces everything. I mean, just everything that you initially heard. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what in the world? So no, I'm the guy that I think, you know, half off my rocker, because I'm going, what's happening here? What? And you know, people have talked, and you and I have had the conversation that, and I think I used the word a few calls ago, stuff's happening at Mach speed, faster than I ever believed it could happen. And it's the craziness of the whole thing. It's just going to be crazy to watch how everything plays out. Yeah. And I don't know. Now he's making a lot of people nervous right now. He's making the SEC nervous.
Steve, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Ryan puts up in the chat, curious what Notre Dame administration are doing after that. My boards are not on this stuff. Steve, that's a great question. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Bearcat. Notre Dame, sitting back there. They heard what Peter Collins just said. He's about to blow a hole in the ACC.
Yep.
What is South Bend thinking right now?
Here's my thing, Greg. I think in the current media market, I don't know that I could use the term NBC is going to lowball Notre Dame, but they're going to be that's going to be interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting how that plays out. And I think Notre Dame has to put the pen to the paper and go, how much longer can we survive being independent when we can jump in the Big Ten and never worry about anything the rest of our existence?
Yeah.
So to me, I think, truthfully, I think all the external forces happening in college football right now is going to pressure Notre Dame into going to the Big Ten. I really do.
And then, so let's go down the rabbit hole. Okay?
Okay.
We're just pretending here. We're just speculating.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
None of this might happen. But, okay, let's say Big Ten does this Florida State, does this Clemson, does this Washington, does this Oregon, does the Notre Dame. I mean, SEC is going to get up on their horse, right? And they're going to grab the biggest properties out there. There's no question about it. And who is that going to
Well-
be? How would you rank the biggest properties after, we're just pretending, Notre Dame is off the board, Florida State's off the board, Clemson's off the board, Oregon's off the board, Washington's off the board. Where do you go, Steve, if you're Sankey going from 16 to 20? What are the top 4 properties?
What are my top 4 if I'm him? And now you're getting into politics, as you talked about earlier with Virginia Tech, maybe even North Carolina. Well, they're private, but the NC State, North Carolina thing.
Yeah.
You're getting into. I think they go Miami.
Got it.
First and foremost.
Got it.
I think they got to go North Carolina.
Got it.
Now, you're going to laugh at me.
No, I'm
A lot
not.
of people are going to laugh at me for
Nope.
this. College football is still somewhat about rivalries, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Somewhat. Now, I know the Georgia Tech rivalry has been very one-sided as of late. I wouldn't count out Georgia Tech. I really wouldn't. And the other one that everybody's going to laugh at me about, I wouldn't count out Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I that's the 4. I mean, North Carolina, Georgia Tech. Now you got me all mixed up. Georgia Tech, Oklahoma State.
I did not give you
Carolina.
a good heads up on it. We're
No, that's fine. It just
Yeah.
makes me think here. But to me, and now I'm looking at rivalry, and I'm looking at Georgia Tech. I'm looking at Oklahoma State. I mean, Bedlam fits in perfectly in the SEC. It just does.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're, so I don't know. The other thing is, Greg, and you discussed it, and some other people have discussed it. How does the Big Ten? They can't live without themselves without having a team in Texas. If they get Washington, Oregon, Clemson, Florida State, they're going to go, okay, who we want in Texas? Well, I think obviously it'd be A&M. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just as I told you before, from where I am, and this is I'm very biased, but man, if these 4 corner schools come, which I think now after the news today out of the PAC that's pretty much going to happen, I just want to see Louisville and Pitt come to the Big 12 too.
That would be beautiful. Yep.
So
All right.
anyhow, I enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Steve. Come back tomorrow.
I was just taken aback by the things he was saying in a public forum, Greg.
Yeah. Stunning.
I know.
Stunning.
All right, my friend.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Appreciate it. Lost somebody. Call again. And the Peter Collins, what he said, that's gone viral now. That's all over Twitter. We started our show talking about Peter Collins, the chair of the board of Florida State trustees.
Call from
Crab cakes and football.
Crab cakes and football. Can you hold 1 second? I just want to set the table again here. Thank you, sir. We started the program talking about what Peter Collins said, the chair of the board of the trustees of Florida State University. And man, oh man, you got to watch. You have to watch War Chant. Go to the YouTube. Watch that interview. Peter Collins says, I don't have it on my phone anymore, but he basically says, we know the documents. We're not afraid of the GOR. We're not afraid of the GOR. That's basically what he's saying. And then when there was a question asked about geography, who basically the question is, do you see yourself, SEC, Big Ten? It wasn't asked that way. It was about geography. And man, oh man, Peter Collins said the word national a few times. That sounded to me like a Florida State, the Big Ten. And I believe, as I'm watching this, as my jaw is hitting the floor, over and over and over again. I'm thinking, Greg, you're overreacting. Greg, you're going to come up on the show and you're going to give your opinion on what you just heard, and you're going to get crushed by the PATC community because you guys are all smart, and you guys are going to say, Greg, you're overreacting. Not a one of you who have actually watched the interview have said that, Greg, you're overreacting. And this interview is catching like wildfire on Twitter, on the message boards. It's everywhere. My phone is blowing up. Take a listen to War Chant, Peter Collins. Take a listen to it. I don't think we're overreacting at all. Crab cakes and football. Mr. Terrapin, the floor is yours once again, sir.
Hey, how you doing today, Greg?
Good.
Hey, I want to come at it from a Big Ten Maryland standpoint.
Go ahead, do it.
Sounds like we're going to get Clemson back as our rival, and we're going to get FSU back.
Yes,
the
sir.
two biggest brands on the East Coast. So, and if you think about it, they did everybody a favor talking about the Big Ten grabbing them too, if it happens that way.
If it happens, yeah.
Because ESPN already had in SEC already have Florida and South Carolina in the respective states. So
Yes,
now that gives them a chance to go after the other properties not named Clemson and Florida State, which they'll still take a go for a grab on.
Yes, sir.
But I think if this goes down tomorrow or whenever it goes down, I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but whenever it goes down, I do think Oregon and Washington will be part of the deal with Florida State Clemson. And if that happens, the only one that doesn't make any sense to me is Clemson. But I do live in South Carolina now, and, hey, that'll be easier game for me to go to. So, that's, and then when it comes to Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, I don't know why they haven't just gone ahead and made the announcement they're just going to go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't sell the subscriptions the first time with the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Now they got to sell their own subscriptions in order to get paid.
Yeah.
I just don't. They just might as well just go ahead and take the guaranteed money.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure can.
From the Maryland Terrapin's perspective, you're living in South Carolina. Again, I'm going to ask you. We're just going down. We're just pretending here. Okay?
Okay.
Big Ten, all these rumors are true. Florida State, Clemson, Washington, and Oregon. And let's just throw in Notre Dame because I don't think Notre Dame's going to the SEC. So let's just take Notre Dame off the board. They're number 21. What are the top 4 properties that the SEC and the ESPN is going to get together? Who are they going to eat? What are the top 4 schools, targeted schools, that the SEC goes after to get to 20?
Oh, I can name 2 of them right off the top: Miami and North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
I do think they go after in any order, either Virginia and Pitt. But I heard something about the legislature said it might be Virginia Tech and Virginia.
Yeah.
But if they can get past that legislator part, I think they would love to get into Pennsylvania, where Penn State's at, and get Pittsburgh. That way they're like,
Yeah.
So that way they're eating into their territory just
Yes.
like we're eating into their territory.
Yes, sir. That's a good,
fire,
very good
fire
point.
shot. So I think Pitt, if they can get through that little legislature thing, UVA or Virginia Tech, and I would probably think Virginia Tech. And then you're going to have UNC, and I think you'd have Miami.
Now, again, I go back to North Carolina State because for North Carolina to leave, to go to the SEC, and North Carolina State is in where? I don't know where they'd go, the Big 12. Would that fly in the state of North Carolina? I do not know.
It would have to.
It would have to. Okay.
I mean, Tobacco Road has been a major issue. That's the reason why Maryland left the ACC in the first place.
Yes, sir.
So,
yeah.
So between Wake Forest, North Carolina State, UNC, and Duke, they owned all the properties pretty much. They always got everything handed to them. But now they've expanded so much, and now it's coming back around this other way of expansion. I think Duke, NC State, if NC State's not picked up by the SEC, which they may, and then Wake Forest and probably Boston College would make a great addition to the Big 12. I think those 4 schools going to the Big 12, I think, gives them a Northeastern presence, and then you got the rest of North Carolina pretty much right there, good basketball. And they want to be known as a basketball conference. So you got 3 of the best.
As Anthony Eason said in the chat, my fear is my cards won't have a landing spot. You got to believe that Louisville would get to the Big 12, right?
I totally forgot about Louisville.
Yeah.
SEC might go after Louisville. I totally forgot about them.
Well, they got Kentucky. That's a tough sell.
Yeah, that's true. They got Kentucky. Kentucky. They're not going to go. They're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Louisville could go to the Big 12.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you might take out Boston College and just forget about the Northeast unless they go after Syracuse or something, and just grab Louisville.
Yeah.
Or maybe they drop one of the Tobacco Roads, Wake Forest, or something like that, and grab Syracuse and Louisville, and then you still get Duke and NC State. So they're or Pitt. Pitt would go to
as a Terrapin, okay, as a Maryland Terrapin.
Yes, sir.
Is this if Florida State and Clemson come on in, we're just going to cut it off at Florida State, Clemson, Washington, and Oregon. How does there'll probably be a 5-team division, right? Rutgers, Maryland, Florida State, Clemson, Penn State. How does that make you feel? Do you feel better about the situation? You must, right?
I think that, yeah, I would feel better about it. Trust me, we got introduced and indoctrinated in haze by having to play Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan for 10 years or however many years it's been. So, now if they redo everything and we can get Clemson, we can get Florida State, get Penn State, then they can take Michigan and Ohio State off our schedule except for every couple of years. And then we can, and plus you get Florida State, Clemson, and like I said, Penn State. So either way, it's.
So what we're looking at here, let's get the brass tacks. What we're looking at here is my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers in this 20-team conference is looking at 2-10 records from as far as the eye can see. Is that what we're all saying here tonight?
You can't be afraid to play them, Greg. if you're afraid to play them, then you might as well stay on the porch. You got to play them. You might get your butt kicked. Might get your butt kicked. We might get our butts kicked. Last year, we almost pulled off a double shocker with Michigan and Ohio State.
You did.
Both of those games.
Yeah,
we should have won them, but we didn't. There's no excuses. But so I'm looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward. Hopefully, this is true. Very shocked by Clemson, though. Very shocked.
I'm shocked.
If it happens, FSU to me has always been a national brand. So I know everybody wants them in the SEC, but I really think they're better nationally. So now they can go out to California, they can go to Chicago, they can go to New York, they go to D.C., they can go to wherever, and they'll be recognized. And their alumni can come to games. So I think when it's all done, it's going to be a win-win for everybody.
Got it. Hey, thanks for the call. Please call back again.
I will.
Thank you.
Take care.
Beautiful.
All right.
Call from
JB.
JB is on the line. What's going on? It's crazy in here. Holy smokes.
Yeah, you seem a little excited tonight.
Well, this is ridiculous, man. Did you watch Peter Collins' interview?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, when you watch it, let me know. Let me know how you feel.
Okay. When I call, I'm not about speculating. I'm more about facts.
Yes, sir.
So, why, and I'm asking you this, why is Florida State so pissed off? Excuse my language.
Well, they fit. I know they signed the documents. I get it. They did. But I think they felt that they were promised more than what ESPN could deliver to them, or what they have delivered to them. They see the change in landscape where they're stuck in a deal. which they signed to 2036. And in this new age of college football where the student athletes are going to get direct compensation from the schools and conferences, that they're going to fall way behind. That money means more. To be able to compete at the highest level, you need to be above the stratification line. That's why USC made the decision. That's why Texas and Oklahoma made their decision. And Florida State feels like they're getting left behind.
Well, I'm going to say this is as simply as possible.
Got it.
They woke up and realized that ESPN had knifed the ACC in the back.
Yeah.
They re-upped them and then turned around and signed the SEC to a contract that's almost double the amount that they're getting.
Yes, sir.
And all of a sudden they woke up and realized those SOBs got us. They got us. They got us by the grant of rights. They got us by this. Got us. And Florida State is just basically saying enough. You know, they've just had it because they realize they can't pull the knife out of their back, so they're just leaving and hoping that somebody else can give them the relief. And Greg, the stuff is moving so fast now with the stuff out west and now the stuff in the southeast. It's moving so fast that you can't set up stages fast enough to make it all happen.
Yeah.
And lastly, the second day of Big Ten Media Day, Tony Petitti was supposed to meet with CBS and other outlets and snaked away and met with nobody that day and left town claiming a family illness.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I'm saying the family illness was he needed to take care of the conference. And when I say take care of the conference, it was either to talk to somebody out west or somebody in the southern east. But Rick Neuheisel keeps bringing this up. He did not meet with them, and he left town without meeting with them and just claimed that it was a family emergency.
Wow.
So,
wow.
There you go. It's just more cloak and dagger there, Greg. It just keeps spinning.
Well, and we've heard, Kirk Herbstreit say in public, we've had enough people say things, like they expected something to happen. And then, and we had Illinois Chancellor, I forget the guy's name, but, he said, look, we continue to, we are doing a cost-benefit analysis, discussing possible further expansion. So they've been working on all these scenarios. And I don't think if Florida State, man, if they're about to do what now I believe they're going to do, the Big Ten can't possibly say no to them. They got to figure out how to make them whole, though. There's so many questions to this, JB.
If the Big Ten can't help them, and the SEC can't help them, they're strong enough to be independent for a few years.
Okay.
Until somebody gets there, and that might be another reason for the war chest being built.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but the Big Ten has its own. The Big Ten's loaded. I mean, the Big Ten could say, look, we'll give you $50 million a year until you get your grant of rights figured out. Some way, somehow. To put the Big Ten network in the state of Florida, to put the Big Ten network in the state of South Carolina, how many Big Ten subscriptions are going to be sold?
A lot.
So that's going to, Fox Sports, man, they want it to happen. This is crazy, JB.
Yes, it is. And you were talking about Big Ten shares. As an employee, a former employee of a Big Ten school athletic department, we were always reminded that the Big Ten the conference office always got a cut. So that cut has always been building and building,
Yeah.
and it's just been building and building and building. So
Yes.
they got the money.
They got the money. They got the money, honey. So.
Yeah. All right, Greg.
All right,
Have a
man.
great show. I appreciate it. I'll call when there's more facts to either be asked about or given. I love the speculation. I love all the stuff people bring. I just don't like to speculate.
Okay, thanks, JP. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow, what?
Call from
Jeff Fuller.
Jeff Fuller. Jeff Fuller is on the line. The floor is yours. Holy smokes. Jeff, you got to explain to me what's going on. I know this is Peek Around the Corner. I'm supposed to provide a Peek Around the Corner, but I am failing at my job. This is way too much, way too fast. I was not expecting August 1st, 2023, Peter Collins, the chair of the Board of Trustees at Florida State University, to have that type of interview, to say what he said. No, I wasn't expecting any of that, Mr. Fuller. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, that's that. I mean, everyone has said for how many years, but, you know, ACC is stuck where it is. You know, the contract with the extension till 2036. I mean, we put that back on the shelf into the deep freeze storage, and haven't really been thinking about that. I mean, top of mind has been, you know, Big Ten, SEC, PAC, all the other conferences have been touched by conference realignment, but now I think the ACC felt left out, and Florida State is definitely feeling left out. So they're coming to the table. It seems like. I mean, I can't read it any other way. I mean, they're talking financials. I agree with those who've called earlier. It's, you know, it's a long-term money play. The opportunity cost of staying in the ACC for another 13 years. I think they just view it as too large. They're going to, you know, miss out on too much big money if they do. And ESPN, we'll see if they're willing to play ball with those that are trying to get out. That's my thought on that. I've got a couple other thoughts, but love to hear your thoughts.
No, I agree with everything you just said. You said it a lot better than I've been saying it all night long. Go ahead with your other thoughts.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's called tonight. I haven't caught every single minute of the show, but I know our relegation friend, Western Civic, calls the show quite a bit, and he's been beating the drum about you know, Colorado and possibly Arizona, you know, being relegated to the Big 12. You know, you know, we've talked about that and how silly that is and how that's, you know, just a coping strategy. But I think he's onto something with relegation. We're not seeing it on the school level. We're seeing it on the conference level. And if he wants to deal with the idea that, you know, that his beloved conference, the high and mighty Pac-12, is actually being relegated away from power status, we're seeing it right before our eyes. I mean, over the last 14 months, you know, it's not getting stronger. The media deal that's been sort of leaking out little by little. Jason Scheer said the highest number he's heard is $22 million a year per school. And
yeah, we have 22 and a half here. Yeah, our guy, Arizona State Money Perch, said that they're looking at it as 22.5 million. They think they can get to that level of success and no higher than that. So,
yeah, and that's, you know, everything else is based on incentives, and you know, who knows how long people are going to stick around. I came up with a little idea of, I sent out a tweet about it, just saying that, you know, Kliavkoff comes from a gambling background, and he's sort of asking his schools, you know, they're each holding a pair of twos, you know, maybe Oregon and Washington have, you know, some aces or some kings that they're holding, but the other schools, you know, maybe holding weaker hands. But they're, you know, he's asking them with, you know, with pocket twos to draw a full house, and you know, they need three things. They need for streaming to really be the future, which that's a risk, that's a gamble. They also need to hit the subscription numbers to actually catch up and be profitable over what the big, what they can get in the Big 12, which is, almost 10 million more than they're being offered. That's a big gamble. And then the third is that they need to gamble that their other, schools are going to stay with them, that everyone's going to stick there. And we all know that Oregon and Washington are out the door as soon as possible. It sounds like it may be happening sooner rather than later. So, the idea of relegation, I think, Western Civic may have been onto something, but we're seeing it on the conference level, and the Pac-12 is being relegated away from power status. And I loved your tweet where you said that the Big 12 is always going to have a seat at the table because of the basketball brands.
Yeah.
And being the top basketball, you can't just sit there and completely ignore them. And that's been a good strategy by your mark to sort of keep those strong basketball brands. And he may be salivating at this ACC possible explosion that, a lot of good basketball brands, like Louisville, that used to be a top 2 or 3, brand 5-10 years ago in basketball. The money that they brought in, and, they're down a little bit, but, you've got the Duke in North Carolina, which North Carolina is going to be picked up by a bigger brand, but we'll see what happens with Duke. They're sort of a wild card in all this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Duke's a wild card. Louisville to the Big 12. It's a possibility now. All these things are possibilities. It all becomes possible when Arizona officially declares, because that's going to crack the Pac-12 open again, and then the dominoes are going to just fall. Washington and Oregon, it's all going to just happen. In the Florida State thing, which the smoke was real. We were told the smoke was real. We reported the smoke was real. I think the fire is real. After what Peter Collins just said, it's an amazing time. It's going way too fast. Things are really going to get crazy, and we're 4 Saturdays away from college football. So buckle up, baby. Yeah. Buckle up.
I know it's everything going on. I know this is an ACC centric podcast today. Or YouTube show today, but what are your thoughts on the Pac-12 media deal leaks and who's going to stay, who's going to go? Do you have updated odds?
Yeah, well, we said it early in the show. It's we believe Arizona's going to go soon, and then Arizona State's going to go, and then Utah's going to go to the Big 12. They're all up on the stage now. Because that was Arizona and Arizona State's greatest fear, that type of deal. That was what they didn't want, and that's the only thing that George Kliavkoff could deliver. And that's why George Kliavkoff wasn't presenting deals to the Pac-12 presidents. That's why Arizona State was getting upset. Now, Bobby Robbins publicly and privately was not getting upset. But this is why the deal wasn't presented, because they knew they couldn't keep the Arizona schools if they presented this type of deal without any major linear component to the deal. So I think things are going to break fast. Now, not like, I don't think everything happens tomorrow, because I think Arizona State has some work to do. Utah has some work to do. You just can't pull the trigger on this. But I think everything's in motion now for it to happen.
And do you think they all three go at once, or do we get a Arizona?
No, I think there's a gap in time between the three. Not a whole lot of time. We're talking a couple days here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think...
I think within a week or two, we're going to know the
I don't think...
Who's staying, who's going.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. Once that's locked in, I don't think Brett Yormark's going to go, hey, Arizona, let's wait till Arizona State till we got everything figured out. I don't think that's how it's going to happen, right? Yeah. When Arizona's ready, they're going to say whatever Brett Yormark's, he said a 2-word thing about Colorado. They're back, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what 2 or 3-word phrase he's going to say about
Arizona.
Yeah, but he's going to do something like that. I think he's going to do one at a time, because they're all in different stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And give them their own due, their own publicity.
Yeah.
He's a marketing and media master, so I've been very impressed, and just love that Pac-12 presidents hired, maybe they just hit the lottery and got lucky, but they definitely made a good hire. It's looking that way.
Yeah.
So, great show. Don't want to take up too much of your time.
Thank you.
Love the show. And
thank you, Jeff.
Yep. Take care, Greg.
Appreciate it. Thank you, good sir. Son of Sarek, thank you for your super chat. In terms of money and exposure, the collapse of the regional conferences is eerily similar to the collapse of the wrestling territories in the 1980s. My beloved AWA, WWF put the knife in it. You're right. That's a very good example. My AWA got destroyed. Nick Bockwinkel, Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell, Jesse Ventura. He went to the WWF. You lost Kurt Hennig, lost Rick Rude. All those guys in the AWA. Very good comment by Son of Sarek. Changing times. Things are always changing. 20 years from now, these big super conferences could fracture. It might not even take 20 years from now. It might only take 10 years from now. Who knows? Realignment never sleeps. College football starts 4 Saturdays from now. Now, we're going to shut it down for the night. We've been on the air for over 2 hours. But if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Follow us at Flag Empire because we're going to notify you the next time we're on. We can come on at any time. And please, before you leave the chat room, smash that like button. Here's the thing. The Florida State Board of Trustees has a meeting 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, noon on the Pacific. This could be a huge event. August 2nd, tomorrow, Florida State University, the Board of Trustees, 3 o'clock p.m. Wow. Go to War Chant. Watch the interview. Peter Collins, the chair, the board of the trustees. Florida State. Give it a listen, man. Florida State is actually going to do this. They're actually going to announce their official withdrawal from the ACC before August 15th. It could happen tomorrow. Whatever happens tomorrow, stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner because we're going to be covering it. Even though this is overwhelming, even though we don't know what the heck is going on right now in this particular story, we're going to be a poking, we're going to be a prodding, we're going to figure it out for you. So stick with us at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time. From all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.